Keeping my promise, my end of the deal. Anyway, make sure, hold on, make sure I clean the screen up a little bit so y'all can see me a little better. Is that better, y'all? Make sure you hit up the Cash App, $ STRINGERBELL80. Also, there's a PayPal link and a GoFundMe link in the description box. Feel free to hit those up too if you don't have Cash App. So I figured I'd take the time, right? I said, let me talk about this whole Angela Yee situation and everything that's going on with that, right? Where can I start? I'm gonna start here. This is where I'm gonna start, right? I remember I did a live like a year ago, right? And when I did that live, at that time, I think it was when Kwame Brown and Charlamagne the God were first arguing with each other online and stuff, right? And so when I watched it then, I said, they gonna shut that show down. It's documented, I said it. They gonna shut that show down. Now, I don't think they're gonna shut the show down per se. I think this Angela Yee is making her exit. She's taking on her options, as we say in our community. She's taking on her options. And she's already got lip service going, so she doesn't have to do much. She's already got a following that's been in existence for what, the past 10 years? You know what I mean? So she doesn't have a problem of segueing and doing something else. Do I think that name will stick with me? What's it called? The Way Up Host, that's what it's going to be called. It's supposed to be debuting this fall, so I'm trajectorying that as around about next month, middle of next month, second week of next month. So we're going to see the show. And I just want to know what's going to differentiate her show for what she does on The Breakfast Club. Now, already at midday, many of us in the New York City tri-state area, you know what I'm talking about. We listen to a continuation of the show that the rest of the nation doesn't get to listen to. So with the rest of the nation, they'll cut off at around about 9 o'clock, let's say, or so. Here, it'll go from 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever the case may be for a little bit, right? And so we'll sit there and we'll continue to listen. Now, this is the thing, right? Y'all gotta follow me. I'm walking right now. You know what I mean? I think, honestly and truthfully, that show is coming to an end. I think, honestly and truthfully, this is just the preload to what's really ultimately going to happen, when they're going to cancel the show. It is in the market almost irrehensible, if I want to say, unless you're somebody like Howard Stern, unless you're somebody like many other shock DJs, everything, because that's what it is. It's a shock DJ show. You know, they got their pattern from people like Howard Stern, people such shock show. You know, we bring you all the new stories, all the latest gossip, who's talking about who, whatever the case may be, and we deliver it to you on an hourly, if not minute basis. I think the repetition for the stories is usually between 35, 45 minutes. That show had already been over. If I wanted to make a guess, and I really wanted to say, that show had probably been over a year ago, when nobody really wanted to watch the show anymore. Most of the stories that are on the show, you guys are already hip to 2, 3, 4 hours before it happens. This wasn't any space for it anymore. And in the area we have now with YouTube, regular bloggers, this is how DJ Academics came about. In the era that we have all these people, right, doing a litany of different things. Now we're seeing, maybe, because I'm gonna go here to the side, y'all, so y'all don't have to hear all the traffic and everything. With all that taken into consideration, right? This is the thing. What's gonna happen with Charlamagne? What's gonna happen with DJ Envy? I know what's happening with DJ Envy. I had the pleasure with my boss, Sean Prez. I always still call him my boss. I don't know, it just automatically comes in like that. And that's a band of color. But I was at Prez's, we were taping his podcast at the time. It was called Power Moves Makers. Make sure y'all check that out here on YouTube. And Sean Prez also does interviews over at DJ Blog at Blog TV. I think the last interview that I caught, it was what he did with, Jesus Christ, was this kid from Georgia. I forgot what his name was, but he was signed to Bad Boy for a while. Young Jock. Did an interview with Young Justin. I'll make sure y'all head over to Vlad TV, check that out. But what you're going to start seeing is a lot of people trying to versatilize themselves in the market now, the current market that we have now. The current market that we have right now in the ecosphere of the media is sparse. Anybody can pop up and do something nowadays. Anybody. And so what you have is, for the first time, in my opinion, you have larger companies that have come into full segue of now you're going to have to play ball. 4 or 5 years ago, when everybody was talking about, oh, the internet's going to take it over, the internet's going to do it, whatever the case may be, I would have raised the eyebrow at you and said, good luck with that. But now, no. We actually have online personalities that go to bloggers to get their information now. Like directly, like they're working in cahoots with each other. And I'm not talking about in a small way either. I'm talking about in some of the most villainous, insidious ways I've ever seen in my life. I mean, real hardcore stuff. And I'm just like, wow, this is what we come to. And it's all in effect to kind of like prey on each other, if that makes any sense. So, I'm preying on you, she's preying on him, we're preying on each other, everybody's preying on each other. We're predators, right? As mammals as such do in such times. We all still are mammals. What I think is going to happen up there at Power 105, this is my opinion, and the reason I brought up my ex-boss's podcast was because of pure simple fact, when we had that interview with DJ Envy, and I'll go look for it and I'll share it and I'll let you guys hear for yourself. When we had that interview with DJ Envy down in Brooklyn, the thing was, we wasn't talking about music. We were talking primarily, doing the whole conversation about real estate. You understand? And it wasn't just about real estate, but it was all the fundamentals of real estate, all the rearing of real estate, where you had to go at to get zoning permits, etc., etc., etc. He was really going down the list as far as like old properties where you could purchase them at on this particular website that I ain't giving away for free. But this was the thing that was the kind of the premise of the conversation when we were with DJ Envy. So DJ Envy is deep into real estate and has been for some time. You know what I mean? I can personally clarify that for you. So the next person that's left is Charlamagne the God, who Charlamagne, I guess the best option you would say, he's got a couple of options on the table. I mean, he's got the show over MTV2. I don't know how valid that is still. Charlamagne has, I think him and Andrew Schultz, they work good as a team, but I've seen that Andrew Schultz has moved on his own for the past year. If you're not familiar with Andrew Schultz, they had a show called The Brilliant Idiots. I don't know if they got any syndication on it or whatever, but I know it's available on Apple Pay. I know it's available on Android via different apps you go on there. You get what I'm saying? So you can check these guys out as a team, Andrew Schultz and Charlamagne the God. I think they work very good together. But what I've seen is Andrew Schultz got him a whole new crew. He's got 2 Middle Eastern gentlemen, 2 black gentlemen, 1 Middle Eastern gentleman, and I think one of the guys, he's from somewhere else. He's definitely not American. Let's just put it that way. Not American born. But it makes a good show. They've had some crazy guests on that you would never expect or whatever. So I'm going to tell people, definitely go check that out. The Brilliant Idiots with Charlamagne the God. I know he had another thing. I forgot what that was with his format. That was when he interviewed Pete Davidson. I forgot what format that is. So secondary to his career, Charlamagne the God, outside of Power 105, has about 4 or 5 different contractual agreements that are at least bright and visible, versus everything else that he might have going on, which I don't have a full collective data to even present that to you. But I will say this. Everybody in that room has options. It was built upon them to have options. And I remember that story that I reported on that. I'm thinking about it. It was when they had decided not to not to partner with Revolt TV any longer. That's when that moment happened. And I remember doing that story here on my YouTube channel. And I remember telling you guys at the time, I said in that video, I said, that show is coming to an end. That's the only time Puff would not renew, or they would not remove Puff. That's the only way. And if I know what I know, it served Puff no purpose. I was around the man and the company for 17 years. It serves Puff no benefit to not continue that contractual obligation when it had been there for damn near 10 years. It had been there since that Revolt emblem had been there, I'm going to say, at least 4 to 3 years after the show had accumulated to what it was called the Breakfast Club. Revolt TV was always sitting right there on those mics. Revolt TV was always plugged and put in the snippets and clips on the station or whatever. I know this for a fact. So some of y'all can't keep up. Some of y'all don't understand what I'm talking about. I have to realize that I talk a lot of the professional talk or whatever. That's funny, my nickname is professional, but what I mean is I talk a lot about the business like you guys were in the business. And I think sometimes I get misconstrued on what I'm saying. And somebody pointed that out to me or whatever the other day. And I said, I don't know any other way to say it. You know, the people that are in the business or people that are around the business, or if you've been around entertainment artists or whatever, they know what I'm talking about. To be quite honest with you, preferably, I prefer them listening to what I'm talking about because of the simple fact they have the power to change it. They have the power to change it. And like I said, I keep saying, if we continue on this fashion when everybody's got a format, everybody's getting a deal, everybody's getting a show, everybody's accepted or whatever, the market's going to become so saturated that nothing's going to be worth evaluating. That's how the market goes. This is why they start tyranny. What's the other word I'm looking for here? Well, a certain company, monopolies. This is why they stop them, because they don't want it to be a tirade in the market where everybody's fighting fists first to try to get $1 in their pocket. And there's only one cookie shop on the block. You understand what I'm saying? So imagine you're a cookie shop, there's several other cookie shops on the block, and there's one main cookie shop that's got the best cookies on the block or whatever, and they sell them to you at half the price of a dozen as the ones that will up the block that got better cookies for $6. Well, of course, you're going to go to the 12 dozen. You're going to go to the 12 because of the simple fact, you're like, you know what? It may not taste as good, but I get more. That's how value's deduced in the business. You don't know what I mean by that? Meaning that I can go to someone who's less and get more from them versus going to a higher entity like Power 105, daily, morning, dedicating my time, my energy, my listening power, my view. And not only get that information, but get a version that's not watered down like it would be on an FM or AM radio station or terrestrial radio. That's what they call it, terrestrial radio. So if you sit back and you look at all the factors or whatever, you say to yourself, okay, well now it makes sense why this show would end. Now it makes sense why Angela Yee would make the jump, and that's clearly what I think she did. She made the jump and decided, you know what, let me start this now. Because if I don't start this now, that's what I'm talking about, trajectory. You have to think ahead. If I don't start this now, what's going to happen is when the time is I'm ready to launch this, nobody's going to be interested. Now, Lip Service, in my opinion, is doing moderately well. That's our other show that you can find here on YouTube. Shout out to Angela Yee. Yeah, I plugged you, Angela. Y'all make sure y'all share me, plug me, something like that. You know what I mean? Factory. I plugged you. I mean, don't act like I don't get no views. I want y'all to chime in the chat room. Let me know what y'all think. The first time here with me, I smoke on camera. Sometimes, occasionally, I curse. I'm from the New York City tri-state, New England. That's what we do. So, let me tell you something. The question now becomes, who's going to replace that chair? Who's going to replace the chair, right? Is it going to be who some people are hinting at, which I think lie? They say it's going to be somebody from the LBGT community that enters up there as to replacing that seat via Angela Yee. Because her full concentration is going to be into Way Up, which is going to premiere, I'm assuming, around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Well, like I said, here in the New York City tri-state area, they continue Power 105 up past 10 o'clock. Even if you go on the iHeartRadio app, you'll find the same thing. They continue the show on. Now, I don't know about in certain locales or whatever that also, get the feed of Power 105 or whatever. It might be totally different, especially when you're talking about local radio stations. Their feed at a certain time. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but you may have a show in a city or a nearby larger city, and that city is the premise, and everything probably like 10, 15, 20 miles outside that city gets the whole entire show. Whether that be down in Atlanta with V105, whether that be in California with Power 106, whether any of these terrestrial radio stations. Now, what happens is the other stations that filter them under them, your local radio stations, They then continue and make the suggestion whether or not they continue on with the show. So where the show at the main branches will be 10, 20, 30 miles out, they're still going. You thinking the show is over because you're 40, 50 miles out. You know what I'm saying? This happens a lot in California, happens a lot in Colorado, Arizona. You have seen people live out there that say the same thing. I learned that actually from OG McDrum. Now let me tell y'all something else, right? Well, one of the things taken into consideration, if you don't believe me, I'll give another example. In your local area, you'll have NBC, but you'll have NBC 10 Chicago, NBC 12 New York, NBC 10 New York, NBC 8 Portland, Oregon. You follow what I'm saying? And even then, they'll filter out the stories that they have versus the one in the major city. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, I live in one of the major cities in Connecticut. We get all the news. We get New York news, we get Spanish news, we get Asian news, we get Middle Eastern news. The whole this on local channels. You know what I mean? We cover everybody because we have a large demographic of different people. With that taken into consideration, who fills that chair? And I need somebody to chime in with me. I'm going to share this again so we get some more people in here. Because a lot of people come to my shit and just try to get... All right, y'all, I want to share this again. I have to watch myself because you notice how people come in and hit the like button or whatever. A lot of people, because I got so many followers and I got so many views. I want to tap my hand again. We're at 1.9 million views in a year. I'm saying something right. I'm saying something right, right, people? Guys, make sure you donate $STRINGERBELL80. There's also a PayPal link in the description box. There's also a GoFundMe link in the description box if you do not have Cash App. I know a lot of people don't have Cash App. Make sure y'all hit that up and support this channel. Keep me going or whatever. I think I'm consistent. I'm one of the few people up this YouTubers that got uploads at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever. So continue with the conversation. Just give me 1 second because I am outside. Continuing this conversation, who's going to fill that seat of Angela Yee? And I think that's a question that'll be divulged to sooner or later. Sooner or later. More sooner than later. And that's what everybody should be waiting for. That's the one. Who's going to fill her seat? We're waiting for the announcement. That's what I'm waiting for anyway. I don't know how the rest of you think, but that's how I think. I find that a lot of people that listen to me, we think very differently. And now I'm understanding why. It's very few people. Let me tell you a quick little story. It revolves around the industry too. There's very few people in the industry that are actually regular anymore. Meaning, like, there's very few people that actually have hands-on with you like a regular person. And a lot of them will go out of their way to not appear as if they are the same as you or they're immortal or something like that. And so it becomes this mentality where, even the lower stewards think the same thing. I'm better than this person. We're going to have 2 people in the project full of urine. And one people step on the elevator, go up to one of the floors of the apartment, right? And one person will look at the other person's shoes and be like, I'm better than you because I got better shoes than you do. So that mentality stays at a lower tier and it goes all the way up to the tier where I worked within for 18 years. It happens, It's just a mentality. It's really about advancement, Everybody wants advancement in their life. Nobody wants to leave this earth and say to themselves, I accomplished absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to be viewed as I'm absolutely nothing. It doesn't matter if you are a multi-millionaire to being homeless, It doesn't matter. People are people or whatever. And you'll find very few people, and I don't care what anybody says, within the music industry, they'll completely understand that. You take some fucker that's been making $15 to $20 million per year, per month for the past 10 years, and then you turn around and tell them, well, don't you think that, we could just eat regular this tonight? And they're going to tell you something totally different. What the hell do you mean? Who's going to fill that seat with Angela Yee is what I'm asking. And I don't think anybody's going to speculate on that except for one person on the woman. And I still think that comes from one of these sources, Some of these sources are right, though. Don't get me get you wrong. Some of these sources are right, but most of them, we just the other day, Pete Davidson got on one knee and asked Kim Kardashian to marry him. You got to watch these sources. A lot of sources are snitches or make up stories. You know what I mean? Somebody just recently, they had made up a story. I think it was Nicki Minaj, and it was supposed to be one of her hairstylists. And he was exposing that Nicki Minaj. I hate that word, exposing. Exposing. What you mean? Tattletale? What you mean? Make up a lie? You know? It's like both sides of the coin are at each other's throat. The people in the industry are at each other's throat. The people in the YouTube's ecosphere are at each other's throat. You got YouTubers beefing. Beefing for cash apps and slots. You know what I mean? I decided long ago when I first came into it, I said, one thing I'm never going to do is change myself. And I never did. I never changed. Anybody that knows me from that era to now knows that I am not a different person. I've matured a lot, of course, that comes with age, but I have not changed. The vital facts of me have not changed as a person. That's why one of the reasons I'll be back in quickly. And this is going to be the vehicle to do it. Y'all excuse me, my lips dry. A lot of y'all don't know I have to put some gas on my lips dry. Talk for a minute, your lips get dry. One of the hardest things to do, and many people will tell you, whether musicians, actors, whatever the case may be, one of the hardest things is to do is to get back in after they didn't let you out. But when you get back in, the shit is better than it ever was. That's another thing. Usually, you know what I mean? It's been some of your biggest superstars, Robert Downey Jr., Sylvester Stallone. Everybody's got to sit down for a minute. You know what I mean? It's a fact, can you come back? You know? I think Angela Yee will have a beautiful career moving forward. She got an accolade at Manhattan I think it was last year, or maybe this past year, and doing the winner, where it was actually a journalism award, a prestigious award that's only handed out to some of the top journalists. Angela Yee received one, so I want to commend her on that. Shout out to Angela Yee for that. I think she'll be all right. I think all three of them going to be all right, but either monetarily or career-wise. I think Charlamagne the God, even though I don't like him sometimes and some of the stuff he says, I think he'll be able to move forward. You know, they all have multiple entities right now that they control, you know, as far as media is concerned. Charlamagne's got like 3 shows. Angela Yee now has 3 shows. At one time, DJ Envy, I don't know if he does a show with his wife, but that's 2 shows. So everybody's going to be equally compensated. And at the end of the day, anything, if you close it down, iHeart will compensate them just well. Don't you worry. They'll be all right. They'll be just fine. You know what I mean? So I will sit back and I will say, I want to wait and see, and concluding this part of the conversation, I want to see who they replace Angela Yee with. I want to see what Angela Yee's show is going to be about. It definitely can't be the same aspect as everything else, you know. Come in and interview people. There's tons of people I could interview. I could set it up and interview literal stars that you guys know that I could set up. I think a couple times I did, who have I presented on my page? Tabitha Duncan, Jai Quaid, Tabitha Duncan, Cut Close. That was a group that Keith Sweat founded. Tabitha's a friend of mine. Shout out to Tabitha Duncan. And a lot of different people. I ain't got two names or whatever, but there's a lot of people I could interview on here, but I just think that format is stale. You know, because when you do it, in my opinion, to compete with people, this is the thing. To compete with people and you're doing the interview format, this is the funny thing. When you're doing it, the gist of the whole interview, because now the way that the jobs are, is to grab something out of somebody, whether it's an old story, whether it's a piece of gossip, whether, what was you doing on the night of June the 5th, 2013, you know, type of shit. And I'm just not into that. I'm just not into exposing people and all that stuff. And that's a very feminine trait anyway, when you say you want to expose somebody. You know what I'm saying? And that's the interview styles of a lot of people. They want to expose people. They want the tea and all that stuff. Y'all make sure y'all hit those like buttons for me as y'all come in here. I mean, make sure you hit up the Cash App, $STRINGERBELL80. Also, there's a GoFundMe link and a PayPal link in the description box found right under the title. You get a lot of these people nowadays that are out here in the music business that really don't understand that this business If you keep on going the way you're going, I'm just trying to conclude this portion. But if you keep going the way you're going, you do the same interview styles, you do the same introductions and launches of the music, you introduce the artists the same way, you have the artists sound like damn near each one behind each other, another doppelganger. You continue that, and you're going to see this whole business implode. It's already only worth cents on the dollar. If you go back to 2008, 2010, I think that was the last time you might have saw it. You saw Virgin Megastore, Virgin Megastore, Tower Records, and a couple other ones that were here in the New York City tri-state area. It's a whole different format then. I think it's the last years you probably got to see it, where you would have artists come into the stores. Artists would do sit-downs with the artists. And in some cases, they do it still, but not to the complexity they did it back then, you know? And so what you have now is you have a whole bunch of loose artists that do anything for promotion. So they'll jump on Instagram, do anything. Hey, watch this. I saw a guy, I swear to God, put up the video for you guys. This guy's riding on the top of a train in the Bronx. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? The guy throws shoes at him, trying to get him off the things. It's crazy. You know, it goes to show you that shock jock is coming to an end. And there's only going to be a couple people that could do that shock jock thing. You're going to have to start coming with some valuable information because the tone of people is changing. So that's what I mean by that new show that she has coming. And I like to say myself and a few others, we're trying to usher that in where it's like, hey, now you have to actually apply some journalism. You actually have to apply researching things. You have to actually apply properly quoting people. So I'm hoping that's what you'll see out of Angela Yee's show. I'm hoping that's what you'll see out of Angela Yee's show. Now to the next thing. And I hate to talk about this, and I'm not going to mention this woman's name. She's 37 years old. I refuse to mention those names like this. But the thing that hurt me the most was this was a black woman that did this. Everybody she heard right there in La Brea, I know the area out of California. My sister lives in California. She lives in Modesto, 909. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to 30 Mile Zone. I know California. I could walk around, get around, catch the red line. I know California. That part of California anyway. And so this woman, upset. The story is fickle. You know, on one end, people are saying Elle was her boyfriend. They got upset, and she took off in the car. And the thing, the most ironic thing, don't let me leave this out. The woman is a nurse. The woman that killed 6 people is a nurse. You're supposed to be saving lives. She took 6 of them because of her anger. And that's what I want to center in on real quick because I got to talk about that. Everybody that she killed out there, if you don't know her victims, she killed the man that was expecting his child. She killed the woman that was carrying his child. And she also killed their 1-year-old child that they had already. On top of that, she killed another, and I want to emphasize this to give you guys a visual. There's a lady, her name is Esmeralda Gonzalez or something like that. Shout out to Esmeralda. She said she witnessed with her own 2 eyes, because this is a crossway between La Brea. And so she said she witnessed the baby actually shoot up in the air and hit the concrete. And she had the baby in her arms, and a man came along that worked at the gas station. They interviewed him too, a Hispanic brother. I'm guessing he was probably Mexican. And, he was in tears, man. You know, man was in tears. And I said to myself, if you see this video, the woman shoots right through. She's going 85. Some people clocking 90 miles per hour. She shoots right through the expressway. Just 1, 2, 3, 4 lanes. Northbound, southbound, east, west. They all come right there. This is an intersection, a true intersection. On one of the biggest, I'm going to say expressways there is right there. Well, not expressways, but coming off the expressway right there in LA. And she shot right through there. And automatically when like on the video, you can see the impact. The car catches on fire. That one car catching on fire, in linear fashion, the rest of the cars that were in adjacent, they caught on fire. Now, the funny thing about it, on the right-hand side of depending on which way is the screen you're looking at, on the right-hand side, there's a gas station there. That family that I mentioned, as well as this woman that was driving, was a black woman. And I don't care how irate she was. I don't care how much was going on in your life or whatever. This area that she was in was predominantly Mexican, Black, Peruvian, and Samoan. So everybody lived in this neighborhood with people that looked like you or people you were really familiar with. You would not have done that in Hollywood. You understand what I'm saying? You wouldn't have done that in Calabasas. You wouldn't have done that in North Hollywood or North any of those areas out there that are affluent and opulent. You wouldn't have been flying through there at 80 and 95 miles per hour because, like most, something innately in your mind would have told you, I better not do that around here. I don't care what you said. I would have been like that. I'm not speeding through this neighborhood at 80, 90 miles per hour, even if I live in North Hollywood, even if I live in Calabasas, even if I live in any of those areas out there. I'm not speeding through there. First thing about California roads, first thing is, once you get out of the 30-mile zone, downtown LA, all those streets out there are like Boston streets. Y'all know those Boston streets, they're narrow, especially when you get into San Francisco, Anaheim, all those areas. You get these little narrow streets, and it's set up so you're not able to speed, really. But some people take advantage of it and do it anyway. But this is different than some kids racing their car. That's the thing. A lot of people cruise their cars out in Cali, old schools, new schools alike, fast ones, you know what I mean, whatever. That ain't the point of the story. The point of the story for me is this woman who was only 37 years old was so irate that she read through at 90 miles per hour and didn't see one point at the time that, hey, I might crash into somebody. Hey, I know this area. That's how irate and mad she was. So I don't want to center just on the case itself. She saw a day in court, just to update you guys. She asked for more time, so they're going to continue it into September. And she'll be back in court. She entered no plea, which was wildly amazing to me and kind of bold. You didn't enter any plea. Lady, you hit 6 people. And the funniest thing, this is going to sound cold as hell. How the fuck did she live? How about that one? You killed a pregnant woman, a 1-year-old kid, and the father who was expecting his child. Not only that, they were a black family. Everybody you killed out there was black and Latino. You didn't kill any white. That's why I said that, and that's why I'm bringing it up like that. You didn't go to Hollywood and speed through there like that. You didn't go to Calabasas and speed through there like that because you knew what the setback would be. So why, ma'am, did you choose to speed in the hood and put everybody's life at risk, not care? And this is why I'm talking about this carelessness for almost like, listen, I'm not trying to sit here and bash morality. Everybody's done this stuff, you know what I mean? I'm no innocent. I'm no angel, but I'm definitely not no deviant either. But at the same time, it's just like, with all that said and spoken, you gotta have some time. You gotta have some poise for your own, and I just don't see that. I've had situations where if I'm dressed casual, right, I had a guy at the corner store think he on the same level as me. Now, it sounds cocky. Give me a minute here. The guy that's working at the corner store, the guy that's the janitor, the guy that's, it's really out of a factor that they feel small in themselves. Now, I can deal with that. I can deal with a glance. I can deal with a dirty look or whatever. But if you keep on doing that, at that point, you're trying to prove something to yourself, not me. Because if we measure things, you don't have the same amount of education I do. You definitely don't have the same work history I do. You definitely don't have a lot of things that are pre-existent to you being successful. But then again, they're not looking at that. They're looking at your skin tone and what is perception about it. And I say to it, because you now get foreigners doing the same thing. Just listen to what I'm saying. You now get a lot of foreigners that come to this country doing the same thing. And I'm like, so the whole reason you're here is because where you're from, monetarily, your GDP doesn't match up. Now, that's not an insult. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to come over here and insult me. And I've been here for 400, 500 plus years. And I guarantee you I got more family here than you do. I don't care how tough you think you are. Now, with that being said, the reason I brought that up was because of pure simple fact. I find that this is disdain for folks that don't know each other but all of the same culture. You get what I'm saying? You understand what I mean by that? Like, what I mean is, like, you ready to mean mug me or whatever, but you're ready to smile with a white man and you don't even know if that white man is a serial killer, he's planning on a mass shooting, he's molesting children. You don't know what this white man is doing, if he's stealing money from old people or whatever, but there will be this innate respect that they have for a white man based off, or a white woman based off their skin tone, based off the octave in their voice. Oh, how you doing? Let me tell you something. Jack the Ripper spoke softly and nice. Ted Bundy spoke softly and nice. The Hillside Strangler spoke softly and nice. Jeffrey Dahmer spoke softly and nice. I keep going. It is an innate disrespect that you have for your own, even if you look at what's going on since here after the pandemic, right? And you have all these crimes happening, all happening in specifically black and Latin neighborhoods. All specifically black and Latin neighborhoods. Yes, I did say black and Latin neighborhoods. A lot of Latinos be sitting around fronting like a motherfucking that little CR2 Jeep. Nigga, y'all shooting up shit too. Y'all in the prison too. Y'all broke too. Y'all homeless too. Stop fronting. Keeping your dignity and reality are two different things, and a lot of men can't contend with that. Men in general. Keeping your dignity and living in reality. Living in reality will help you gain back your dignity. You didn't hear me? Living in reality will help you gain back your dignity. Because now you've made an assessment of what's going on in your life. And what can I do to fix it? Now, I don't just talk this shit. Everybody that's been on this channel with me, y'all know I live this shit. I pulled myself up out the hole. I'd be damned if I sit around here like this. Shit, it's too much shit I'm used to doing. You know what I mean? This woman's innate disrespect for not only the neighborhood she lived in, but the people that were in that neighborhood, including, most importantly, the babies, the kids. She killed a 1-year-old child and a pregnant woman. These people burnt to death. And that one other vlogger, except for maybe 2 out of the hundreds of, listen, I got 10.5K subscribers, 1.9 million views, and I don't see nobody else talking about the story. And I know why you're not talking about it. Because that black woman reminds you of your sister. That black woman reminds you of your mother. That black woman reminds you of your auntie. Well, guess what? She's not them. This is an individual that had no compassion and empathy. And the thing I want to point out too, this broad had the nerve to sit in the courtroom and cry like she was a victim. Like she was a victim. All because she was mad. It's sickening. I'm going to conclude this, and I just want to say this. Actually, I'm going to give y'all about 15 more minutes. It's rounded out of the hour. Ladies, y'all might want to hear this. I got a lot of women that are subscribed to my channel. Y'all ain't going to like what I have to say, but keep in mind, I got 2 sisters, so I say this to you with love. All right? I'm a middle brother. Some of y'all chicks getting the fuck out of control. And what I mean by getting the fuck out of control is, I mean this. Excuse me if the first time here, I curse sometimes. Some of you ladies are getting the fuck out of control. You're allowing your emotions to dictate that you can do anything whatsoever in society. This is not the first case I've seen like this. And the men too. I'll get to the men in a minute. But right here in this particular instance, this is a woman. And a lot of you women, it's one thing of having a temper tantrum. It's another thing of getting mad. It's another thing, oh, you ain't bought me the bag for my birthday. I can deal with that. I think generally most men, no matter what culture they're from, can deal with that. Most women are all the same any goddamn way. Problem I have is this. Some women have begun to believe, because of some provisions, certain advocacies that go on online here on YouTube and other platforms, that they could do, say, and act however they want to, whenever they want to. And there's no repercussions. This woman killed 6 people. She's going to probably see life in prison. And California has a death penalty, so there's a possibility of that to get on negligent homicide. This woman is never going to see the outside ever again in her life. because she had one moment as 37, man. We just out beginning life. At 37 years old, I'm trying to fold this to y'all. She let 2 seconds dictate and take the lives of 6 people. And it's not the only one. I just saw another video today where a woman, she was so irate when she was pulling out of a garage out in, I think it was in DC. Did y'all see that video? The woman pulls out. She's in a black truck, so that'll let y'all know y'all seen the right video. She's pulling out. The guy can't move. He literally can't move. He's got a car behind him, car in front of him. You know what the woman does? She turns around and spits on his car because she couldn't get past. Like, she literally stopped her truck because she was at a higher elevation and spat down on this man's car. Now, the funny thing was, this woman was Latina and this man was white. So they're equally dishing this shit out. Women are getting violent. Go to the Department of Justice to see how violent it has become. Women now make up the most largest increasing population in the jail out of men in the past 10 years. Go to the Department of Justice website, you'll find it for yourself. I ain't got to make nothing up. I don't take pride in making shit up. No. Go to the Department of Justice, DOJ's website, enter in female prison sentencing. Also, and look at the average of female prison sentencing. It's much lower than men, but the percentage of them going in and coming out, usually because of drugs, has a lot to do with it too. You find a lot of these women, as they're committing these crimes, they were induced by drugs, prostitution, etc., etc. So definitely there is some aspects of abuse in that. And if it comes from family, because of people in the neighborhood, then that I have a different perception of that. I think that woman has been terrorized. And if you've been terrorized, the only thing you know how to do is terrorize people back. So maybe some validity in the boyfriend got her upset, or he was doing whatever he was to her or whatever. But you, baby girl, you could have pulled in the parking lot at the park. You see what I'm saying? You could have pulled into the parking lot at the grocery store. Got out your car and kicked the shit out of your car repeatedly. Is that fair? I've seen instances in Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, DC, California, Texas now, with women that are actually committing homicides on their boyfriends or whatever the case may be. And in a lot of these cases, these motherfuckers got exactly, I guess, what they could have expected. You know, you come home every day and you smack a chick in her face. After a while, she's going to be like, yo, you know what? I can't do this with you no more. I can't get out of here because you're going to chase me down and follow me. I don't have enough money to leave the state. And even if I do leave the state, you might still come follow me. There's women that live in fear like that. It's a fact. It's a fact. But, ladies, what you got to understand is every man out here, that ain't their fault. I'll say it for you again. I'm going to say it real close. Every man, it ain't their fault. A lot of you women lose potential husbands and boyfriends because of some shit you went through in your life. And then you turn around and say to the public, I'm strong. You strong, huh? But if you so damn strong, how come your strong ass couldn't figure out that you could pull in a parking lot or a grocery store parking lot, and your strong ass couldn't figure out that going down the fucking highway at 89 miles per hour and smashing into people couldn't be a veritable in the situation in one of the most busiest expressways in California? Is that fair to ask? I think it's fair to ask. There's another story. I could talk about it, but I can't put it up because I don't want to get flagged. There's an Asian woman. Yes, I said an Asian woman. This transcends across cultures. This ain't this one culture that this is happening to, though. This transcends beyond it. Let me share this again, guys. So I'm going to be right back with you. This transcends. In the video, the other video that I saw, and this is why I'm talking about this. Another video I saw, I don't know how many of you guys saw it. It's live online right now. You go look it up. I might even put it in the description box later when I go re-edit. But This Asian woman and a doctor. The man had been beating on her evidently for a while, whatever the case may be. You know, he was abusive verbally and physically, I guess. And so she had been poured. He had set up a camera, and she had been pouring bleach in his drink. Then later on, Drano. She was putting light doses in it, capful here, capful there. I don't know what she was trying to do to him. But the man started developing ulcers. He got gallstones. This went on for a year. He said, something funny. I've never been sick and I'm a doctor. It was your wife trying to kill you. So let's not sit here and pretend that women, we had a serial killer in Florida that was a female. Let's stop pretending and acting like things are different than actual reality. It's the way that the reason that we are where we are as a society right now. We're advocating all kinds of weird stuff. We're protesting against doesn't even matter whatever the case may be. But now one person has something to say about this woman in this car wreck. Now what are the laws? Why it wasn't attached to a saw? I need some answers. Everybody's gotten so now they don't want to talk in my chat or something. I don't know what it is. I'm not really worried about it. But I know one thing, if you don't like you want to donate, then don't donate. But don't come here, unsubscribe. Don't come here and listen to me, get story ideas and then roll with them and present them as your own. These are not your own depictions of the story. They're mine. That's one of the most insulting things you could ever do. But please be encouraged to talk in the chat. Say your ideas. If you're not familiar with it, please go look it up. Make sure that you look up the video version, not the printed version. It's imperative that you go look at the video. Because every news outlet there is covering this. Except for Black and Latin YouTubers who literally, our culture was victims of this. It makes no sense to me. Y'all talk about Kim Kardashian, y'all talk about Kanye West, we talk about Pete Davidson. That's why I don't ever stick to one narrative. Yeah, I talk about the stars too, it's fun. But I make sure I keep it everything that matters. I'm not a 17-year-old kid. You understand what I'm saying? I don't have any kids. I don't have a wife. I'm not a 17-year-old kid. You understand what I mean? So I got to talk about it. I got a responsibility somewhat. So for bloggers that don't talk about stories like this, for bloggers that don't find this imperative to bring stuff out this without having a shock value to it, oh Lord, you know, playing the whole tree stump preacher role, and Lordy, and you know, making fun of the person and all that. We don't do that here. We don't do that here. There's too many people doing that. It's now become a clown circus act. You know what I mean? Get online and talk like a tree stump preacher and talk like you was born in the South, but you wasn't born in the South, and act like you know, you can't speak English well and all this. And then you've got a fraction of people that actually get outside of that and they expunge that and they, you know, they got their niches. I respect people that have their niches. Kevin Samuels and many other people that on here had their niches, and whether you agree with them or don't agree with them, they had their niches. I don't choose to have a niche, because if I have a niche, what happens is I get cornered, where I have to talk about that consistently. And to be quite honest with you, the way my mind flows, I can be talking about music today, talking about stocks tomorrow, so it doesn't fit my personality. So I'm not going to make it fit my personality. That's being chucked. That's being fake. You know, I'm not be fake. Got time to be fake with nobody. Guys, make sure when you see this, make sure you hit up the Cash App $STRINGERBELL 80. Once again, that's Cash App $STRINGERBELL 80. Also, it's a PayPal link in the description box, as well as a GoFundMe link in the description box. If you do not have Cash App, you can hit those up. You do not sign up. I will reiterate one more time, you do not have to sign up. So that's a wonderful option for you. Please utilize that. And, we're going to have my clothing up and a couple other things in a minute or whatever. My clothing line, Gustavo, same up to my cousin down in Miami. But we'll have that up this week for you guys. the top of next week or whatever. I'm only launching the t-shirt and the hat. I learned that years ago from Jeff Tweedy. Well, not years ago. Yeah, years ago now, about 3 years ago now. So yeah, years ago. But I learned that from Jeff Tweedy when we interviewed him at Power Moves Maker down in Brooklyn. That was one of the fundamental things he said about Sean John. He said when we started out with Sean John, we only started out with a hat and a shirt. Don't try to have multiple products at one's launch. It won't work for you. Don't have multiple products. I got to shout to Jeff too. Jeff, if you see this on the playback, I got to hit you up. Get some more advice. Shout out to Jeff Tweedy. Shout out to many others that we interviewed. DJ Envy, Funkmaster Flex, and a host of other ones. Got the time to sit down. That's what I miss about it. You know, one of the worst things that happened during the pandemic was our shooting location got shut down in Brooklyn. I say we because it's my ex more, so I'm gonna say we. You know what I mean? He knows that, I know that. But the location got shut down. It was a travesty. It kind of sucked. But the location got shut down because of COVID. At the time, we were supposed to be interviewing the owner of Black Enterprise magazine, Casanova. I'm trying to think. Biv from Belle Biv DeVoe, Michael Bivens from Belle Biv DeVoe. I forgot what son's name is from Rockefeller Records. This is a host of people. These are people that my ex-boss knew in the business for years. That else with worked on the projects with them, promotion-wise and everything else. I worked in the promotions department at 3 different record labels, if you guys, well, distributors of those record labels: Interscope, Atlantic Records, and BMG Bertelsmann Music Group. There's not too many people that don't know him. Even his DJ awards, which were hosted in Marriott Hotel in New York City. One year he had Snoop Dogg hosting, another year he had Khaled hosting, T.I. hosted. You know, it's a man that, of high regard. Like I said, catch out Sean Prez right now on DJ Vlad TV doing the interviews. The last one I remember vividly that I saw and I shared was the one with Young Jock, former Bad Boy Entertainment artist. Go check that out over there. Tell him I sent you over there. I am a loss for words. And I want to conclude this by saying this. Not only this lady, I just use this lady as an example. She's not paramount in the conversation, but as an example of the premise I was setting here. Whether it's in New York, whether it's in California, whether it's in Chicago, it doesn't matter what city it's in. One thing that's pertinent is there is a loss of respect that we have amongst our own. And other cultures are looking at you, and they're looking at you in a sense of everybody is like that. Everybody has low disregard. It doesn't go to just the avenues of violence and streets. No, it supersedes that. It goes into the workplace. That's the most dangerous place it can harbor, in the workplace. It goes into the workplace so bad nowadays that you have people willing to set you up in the workplace. Yes, I saw that video earlier. I'll talk about that later on. I'm going to do a separate video about the woman. I think it was in Atlanta, and the black officer was arresting her, because I got something to say about that, but it would take too long, so I'm going to do a whole separate live about that tonight. But the degradation and the lack of respect that you have amongst one another, where you're taunting each other, you have a whole different reprimand, and the way you speak is totally different when you're dealing with somebody of color. Like, I've gotten into conversations with dudes, and it's funny as hell. The first thing they will do is they'll negate to going into this whole street pose. You know what I mean? Yo, so what you saying? Da, 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 da. I'm like, don't you know I'll blow your fucking brains out? I mean, don't you realize that I'm not saying anything to you? I'm looking at you, letting you know you're in danger. You're in danger. Some people get it. Be very careful. There's people out here that are licensed to carry. They are trained on how to use firearms. They know how to reload them, clean them, reassemble them, disassemble them. You gotta be very careful. So the first thing that happens with me, usually, when I'm talking to somebody or engaged in a negative connotation of I guess you want to say, or whatever, what happens is the first thing they get to is trying to act street. An example they try to give a street, I know some real street guys. I know 3 guys right now that's still doing life. They ain't never coming home. They ain't never coming home. because of stupid shit they did when they was 19 and 22. They ain't never come no. One of the guys, he's been in there at least 17, 18 years now, if not more, for doing some dumb shit. Anyway, long story short, there's a lack of respect, and it was already there. It's been there through the generations or whatever. I can even take it all the way back to slavery, whether the slavery be in the Caribbean or whether the slavery be in the United States mainland. What do you think they were bringing the slaves to? Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Honduras, Panama, all ship ports. Why do you think they picked Vieques in Puerto Rico as a military base and gave it a maritime law called the Jones Act? You should look that up. I don't know how many Puerto Ricans I've ever talked to in my lifetime. I got cats I know since, knee high. And I'd be like, do you know why it's legal for you to be in the United States versus other Latino communities? And they have no idea. And I said, it's the Jones Act. Later got reprimanded to the Jones-Stafford Act in 1927. It's a maritime law. We're familiar with maritime laws because right here in Connecticut, it's all shoreline. We're right adjacent to Long Island, Staten Island, Long Island Sound, and later on the Atlantic Ocean. I lived on the shoreline here, further up in the state, but still in the state. The point I'm getting at is it's a maritime law. That law has never been amended. I want you to listen to me very carefully. Give me 1 second. This is what's the name of this phone line. That law has never been amended one time. And this is why you saw when Puerto Rico had their hurricane, that I think it was President Trump at the time, was it, guys? President Trump at the time, he had a hard time because that law had never been amended, the Jones Act. It had never been amended. So it didn't allow any vessels to come into Puerto Rico, meaning it didn't allow any ships unless they were military or been sanctioned as such by military facilities or the Marines or whoever else was in charge at that time, depending on what branch of military we're talking about here. But I would say Naval or Coast Guard or something like that, or the faction. They weren't allowed to come into the state of Puerto Rico or the province of Puerto Rico. They weren't allowed to come in there. And they had to wait literally for President Trump to sign something to allow. He didn't even know that's what he had to do. Now, I'm not taking up for him. I'm the last guy to do that. But what I'm saying is, it's a reality. And then later on, you saw the example of that when they got that woman up out of there and they ousted that young president. That was a coup right there. That's what you call a coup. They said, look here, Poppy, okay? You got two choices. You can walk out or we can carry you out. It's your choice, man. It's your choice. I don't know. But you gotta go. They got that president and that mayor the fuck up out of there, rightly so. All that food and everything else. Jay-Z, I don't know how many rappers, black rappers, had donated money or donated cargo to the relief of Puerto Rico. I don't know how many had. Jay-Z was one of the top ones. I think Jay-Z donated something well over $500,000 worth of goods and stuff for the state of Puerto Rico when they had that hurricane. It's crazy, man, because Puerto Rico to this day, they still haven't recouped from that. The Bahamas, same thing. They haven't down there. They haven't recouped from that either. Belize, same thing. They're starting to recoup. That's why Sean, you see him everywhere running around as the former rapper, now prime minister of Belize, his home country, running around advocating, trying to get people to come there and visit tax revenue. They need the money. They need the money. A lot of those places down in the Caribbean, the GDP is nothing. Nothing. They don't produce anything. They don't offer anything. They have their own personal goods. That's great. But as far as the GDP, like countries, they have nothing. Only one that has anything, and they ran short, was Venezuela with their oil. Now, you saw what happened to Venezuela, the socialism. You know what I mean? Only thing smart Venezuela's president, he was like, you're not going to get any more of this oil. I respect that. I respect that. A lot of people think that that country fell under and it's in the state it's in, Venezuela's state it's in, because of the president being greedy. No, actually it's because he didn't want to do deals contractually with foreign entities. He wanted to keep the oil inside Venezuela. You got to respect that. You got to respect that. So anyway, I just hope that you guys will listen to what I'm saying, take in a couple things you do. It's great. If you don't, oh well. But start respecting each other. There's an element out here right now with inflation and everything else that's driving everybody crazy. A lot of people don't have a home to stay in right now. God bless them. A lot of people have family to turn to. A lot of people find it very hard to go to the grocery store and have money for food for the week. A lot of people's rents are sky high. There's a lot of real things going on out here besides y'all beefing with each other online or beefing with each other in person. Or ladies, in your example, having full out rages and killing 6 people because you're angry. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Make sure y'all hit up the Cash App. That's my hour. Make sure y'all hit up the Cash App, $STRINGERBELL80. We do nightly shows here. Also, if you don't have Cash App, you can GoFundMe. Also, PayPal will be found in the link in the description box and also in the pinned comments, so y'all can go check that out. Make sure y'all support that. We always have a weekly goal here, $500 to $1,000. We like to try to reach that. So with y'all support, I can do that, and I think it should be pretty easy with 10.5K subscribers. So you guys are definitely listening and you're watching, and I appreciate you and thank you, and I will talk to you guys later. And also hit that like button if you would. I'll talk to you later.